Hello and welcome. I'm Olympia Hostler from Women Choose Wealth, and I'm here to talk to you today about money fear is real and how you can change that, especially in this time of the virus happening, so many uncertainties. So I really wanted to share with you some very practical and useful tips that work and techniques to change your response that is now in the fear state. So, with that being said, I'd like to jump right in. So, we're going to talk about how the fear response happens for us. And it happens the same way for everybody. People do experience it differently, but the mechanism is the same. So, the fear that we have about money is happening all the time. So whether or not we're in this time with the virus or other times, many people have it. So how it works is we have a part of our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is actually the reptilian part of our brain. And it only knows, am I safe or am I not safe? As in danger. Am I in danger or am I safe? And how does it determine that? It determines it by our five senses. And the input from those senses, so sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. So all of those provide input into the amygdala, and then the brain determines, am I safe or am I in danger? And if it determines that you're in danger, then it's going to sound an alarm basically 24/7 because it's trying to protect you and keep you alive and keep you safe. And so you need to have this alarm going off so that you're doing things to keep you safe. And it comes out sometimes in ways that we don't really want it to or think are really associated with it. So, for example, once that trigger happens within the amygdala and it's made the determination that, in fact, you're in danger, then a whole cascade of things happens in the mind and in the body and in the heart. So, for example, it will trigger the the sympathetic nervous system. And what that does is that will send adrenaline and cortisol through the body. And it's as if you're like, have your finger in a socket, you're like, zzz, and you're buzzing. It's hard to sleep. Your pupils are dilated because you're looking around for the threat. Your body thinks that you're being, you're under attack and you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. That's kind of the origins of this. So when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you don't really need to be doing a lot of other things. Things like ovulating, things like eating well, things like sleeping. Like, why would you want to sleep? Or how could you sleep when there's an imminent threat here? So it also tightens the muscles, reduces the blood flow, the heart rate gets faster, we actually get less oxygen into our bodies. And oxygen is needed, for every function of the body. So if you're not getting enough oxygen, a lot of other things are not working well in your body. And it's okay for now, because right now, you just need to get away from the saber-toothed tiger. So the responses could be one of three once the sympathetic nervous system is activated. It could be fighting. So good thing you have all that adrenaline and cortisol, because then you can fight. And as you fight, it discharges it. Although, let's be real, most of us are not going to fight. And how are you going to fight an unknown or an unseen or a not physical entity? Second choice is usually fleeing, and that means running away. So as you're running away from the threat, that also helps to discharge and reset some of these chemical reactions. It's a chain reaction that's happened in the body. So that's another option, but we really can't do that in this situation either. So we're left with our third choice, which is freezing. And when we freeze, it's literally as if we are freezing inside of our bodies. It's hard to move. We get very restricted. We get tight and tense in our physicality. We also get tight and tense in the mind and in the brain, and also in our heart. Like, our emotions start to get more stuck. It's hard to express them. And we definitely, in terms of discharging them, there's no discharging when you're in freeze. So what you want to do is to be able to get out of that. And that's a technique that I'm going to share with you today in a little bit. It's called the 5 senses. There is a video on YouTube called Why Zebras Have Stripes. So if you want to know more about this phenomenon, he explains it very, very well. So other functions of the body that are not needed right now while you're running away from the saber-toothed tiger will be shutting down. So also what happens is the cortisol that's being pumped through your body goes into your digestive tract and it mucks it up. So you can't digest it very well, because really, who needs to digest? Who even needs to eat when you're running away from the saber-toothed tiger? You just go, oh, hey, Mr. Tiger, please take a break. I really need to get my Starbucks right now. I need my coffee and I need a croissant. So let's take a break from the chasing and then we'll just resume. Doesn't work that way. No. So we are literally paralyzed. Although we can move, we don't really want to move when we're in this frozen state. So you may have noticed for yourself, and you can feel free to type into the comments, what are you noticing is happening for you? Are you being more lethargic? Is your energy drained? Your energy might be drained because the energy that you have is being focused on trying to not be eaten by the tiger, this threat, this imminent threat. And whether it's a perceived threat or a real threat, it doesn't matter, because your brain only knows what you tell it. And that's what the amygdala is telling it right now. Am I safe or am I not? Is this a threat or not? So for example, I like to use this example of a dog. So maybe you're growing up and you have a bad experience with a dog. Maybe it's a Chihuahua and it bites you and it hurts and you were scared as a youngster. And then you grow up and you think, oh, I just don't really like dogs. I certainly don't like Chihuahuas and I don't like dogs. And you're probably afraid of it because your amygdala is firing off every time you see a dog, that memory and that experience, like, ooh, danger, danger. However, another person who has had positive experiences or maybe even no experiences with dogs, their amygdala will tell them, hey, you're safe, it's fine. Maybe you can get some good loving from the dog, go up and pet it, say nice things to it, and it wags its tail. So that's a totally different experience for people, even though it's the same dog. So that illustrates the point of a perceived threat versus a true threat. Now, if your house is burning down, that's a real threat. You want to be aware of that and you want to take measures. So that kind of gives us a background of what's happening. Another big thing that's happening when we're in this freeze state is mental clarity. It's not so clear anymore because we are using our brain function to focus on the threat and being safe, getting away from the threat. That's all we can think about. So if you might notice yourself, if you're trying to, do some work, trying to solve a problem, trying to be creative, trying to understand and learn something, it can be challenging at this time because it's very hard for your brain to do that. So what you want to do is to be able to shift that. And the best way to shift you is to do this 5 senses. I'm just tracking the time for us. Okay, we have time to do this. So if you're not driving, I would love for you to participate. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery, then come back to this later and watch it. So we're going to do the 5 senses all together. So assuming you're in a safe place, what I want you to do is get comfortable sitting or lying down and close your eyes. And I want you to just imagine something visually beautiful, whatever that is for you. For me, I like to use a beach because I love the beach. And as you're imagining it, start to communicate to yourself, what is it that's pleasing to you? What is it that you like about this? And just start to tell yourself that in your mind, in your head. You know, this is all in your imagination, which is totally real, because that's what our brain knows. That's what it believes. So focusing on something visually beautiful and just noticing different aspects. Like for me, it's the blues of the sky, very calming, very relaxing. And then looking at the water, it's just beautiful how it glistens. And then the beauty of the green palm trees and how they usually make the nice curves and they frame the ocean. So just focus on that. Now we're doing this a little bit faster than we normally would because we're on the constraint of the Facebook Live, but I want you to get the feel for it. Then we're going to move to our next sense, which is sound. Imagine that you're hearing a very pleasing sound for you. For me, I like the ocean, but it could be anything. It could be trees, it could be music, it could be your children. Whatever it is for you, just focus on the sound and notice how it makes you feel. Notice how you respond to it. Notice how you you're probably starting to dial down your nervous system about now. Whatever is pleasant for you, you're sensing, you're picking it up. Maybe it's a soothing sound. Maybe it's the waves gently rolling in and then rolling back out again. Maybe it conjures up a wonderful memory for you. Whatever it might be, it's all very individual. But whatever it is, you know that it is calming and relaxing and beginning to reset your nervous system back to the sympathetic, which is the rest and digest, which is your natural state, where things are well, you feel like you can relax, you can sleep, you can think, you can function, you can connect with other people. And now we're going to move on to the third sense, which is kinesthetic. We're going to do this one as a touch. So something that you would be touching, you're going to imagine that. Whatever is pleasing to you, I like to think of like a soft puppy. That really gets me going. And then you can imagine just a static touch or a rubbing, whatever it is for you that makes you really just light up and feel great. It's all about how wonderful you feel when you have the sensation of touch. And that sensation of touch is letting your amygdala know, hey, I'm safe. I'm petting this puppy. I couldn't be petting this puppy if I was running from a saber-toothed tiger. So you know what? I actually am safe. I can still continue to pet the puppy and feel how great that is. And then our next sense is taste. This one's always a crowd pleaser. Think about and imagine that you are eating your favorite food, whatever that might mean. For me, it's watermelon. So for me, I imagine the texture, the crunch, how when I bite into it, the water just flows through my mouth, the sweetness, And then just imagine as you're chewing and how that feels, how that tastes. Just really get in there and notice and examine, and then notice how you're noticing makes you feel. Feel better and better and better as you go through each of the senses. And our final sense is smell. So with the smell sense, this is actually the sense that was the most, well, actually it's the only sense that was fully developed when we were born. So it is a very strong, powerful, innate sense. And it has the fastest connections via the nerves into the brain. So if you want to really change any kind of a state that you're in quickly, you can just hop to a smell. And I think that's why essential oils are so popular these days. So imagine a very pleasing smell for you. I like to use lemon or orange or peppermint. I have a lot of favorites, but just pick one and imagine that you're smelling it. And notice how that feels, how that's kind of a wave of good feelings over you. Another favorite for people is maybe the smell of their mother or their grandmother cooking chocolate chip cookies. Like, that's a good one. Who doesn't want to smell that? And by the way, we're in a no calorie zone here, so it could be anything. So now that we've been through the 5 senses, I want you to just check in with yourself. Check in with your heart, your mind, your body, and just notice anything that's different now. Oh, good. Alexis is saying, yes, she's relaxed now. It's amazing how quickly it works and how well it works, because we're going right to the source of what created this chain reaction in the first place. So you can say, positive affirmations, you can do mantras, you can do willpower and grit. That's not going to work. It is not at all lasting or sustainable, nor does it get to the source. So this 5 senses tool that I just gave you, you can use any time. And if you would like to have a separate recording of this, I do have an audio. So just write in the comments and I'll be sure to get that to you. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to talk about that's happening for them that I could possibly help you with? Because I really want us to all abate the fear and get back to being ourselves. And as we're waiting for those comments to come in, I want to let you know that I have some gifts for you. I actually have prepared a quiz for you where you can identify your specific money blocks. It only takes 2 minutes, and I'm going to type it in. I'm actually going to type it in right now. It's called mymoneyblocks.com. You just go there, and then you can take the quiz, and you'll know where your specific blocks are right now. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm doing a 30-day Facebook Live challenge for myself because I have not been all that visible. I'm kind of a behind-the-scenes gal, but what I have done is challenge myself because I feel like I have so many tools that could really help people, and it is my responsibility to get these out to you. So each day in the Facebook Live for 30 days, yesterday was the first day, I'm going to go over different topics like this. And the overall topic is money fear is real and what you can do about it. So we're going to be just going through the science of it, the practicality of it, the energetics of it. Like, we're going to do all different types of angles and perspective of what's happening with our money. So the impetus for that was what we're going through with this virus situation. However, the good news is that this is going to help you not only with that, but with whatever other money blocks that you had lurking anyway. So, just going to check the time. We're doing great. We have 10 more minutes. So, let's talk about how your mind doesn't know the difference between what you're thinking and what's actually happening. So, for example, the 5 senses resource that we just went through, we used that all with our imagination. And how well did that work? That worked great, right? All you had to do was imagine it. And it's as if it was real because it is real. Your brain doesn't know any different, and neither does your mind. So it's the same thing with our money blocks. As we've developed different money blocks from many different sources in many different ways, many different flavors, what happens is we think those are real. We believe them. We may adopt them from other people, say, for example, from our parents, or from the environment, or from the news, from the media, like movies, news, all types of sources. And we hear that and we go, oh, that must be real, or that is real. Now, it may or may not be real, may or may not be true, but the challenge is when we accept that into our person and into our thinking and our mode of operating, that's when it really does become real for us. So does anybody have an example that they'd like to share about what's happening for them and whether it's real or not real and what is going on? I'd love to hear. Amanda's saying this method works great for calming actual panic attacks too. Oh, yes. This is amazing for panic attacks. I actually used to have panic attacks. I wished I had had this tool. I didn't have this tool. The only tool that I had back then was just to take deep breaths, which was moderately helpful for the moment. However, it didn't actually reset anything. So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. Like, how much is that really going to do? If you have a broken arm, you're going to need some surgery to fix that, most likely, unless it's a hairline fracture. We're not going to get into that. But you're going to really need a different tool that is working at the source, not just putting a Band-Aid on the surface. So, good point, Amanda. Also, a very interesting phenomenon is that our thoughts and our beliefs can be generational. There's actually been a study that was done through 4 different generations of people who are Jewish. And the first generation was in the Holocaust. Obviously, the second, third, and fourth generation were not there. However, the thoughts, beliefs, habits, patterns were passed down through 4 generations. This is a scientific study. This is not woo-woo. This is a scientific study. And so the thoughts, the beliefs, the patterns, they are transferred up to 4 generations. That's all the study went. It didn't go any further. And that 4th generation, it's as if they were in that trauma. So that's how deep this can actually go. They also did further studies there that were surprising in that some of the trauma, the actual physical trauma itself, was passed through the egg of the mothers. So it is passed via the females. Quite interesting. It's fascinating. I'm sorry I don't remember the name of the study, but it is available for you. I'm sure if you Google it. And then another resource I'd like to share with you is I'll put it in the comments for us. It's a video of a polar bear coming out of the fight flight response. So he has gone into it, and literally when animals do this, they freeze. Like they get hard, their body is stuck. And so when the threat was gone from him, then he starts to shake. And it's the shaking that happens naturally in most animals that resets the biochemistry. It starts to flood the body with dopamine and serotonin. It starts to create relaxation in the musculoskeletal system. The heart rate starts to lower, and we can take deeper breaths and we get more oxygen. So that video is fascinating because we as humans, if we were to really just go down to our core essence of being an animal, we would do that too. However, most of us don't. So for us to reset, we need to usually have some outside intervention. And this 5 senses technique is perfect. You can use it as often as you'd like. You can do it for 1 minute. You can do it for 10 minutes. It really, if you do it about 10 minutes, which is 2 minutes per sense, that seems to be the optimal amount. But if you don't have the time or maybe the patience, do it for a minute. Whatever you can do is going to help you. Please share that with your loved ones as well. And if you need to get a hold of me, I'm at womenchoosewealth.com. You can also find me on the Facebook here, Olympia Hostler. Good news is I'm the only Olympia Hostler on Facebook, so I'm very easy to find. And I would love to help you and be a resource for you in this time of need. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.